Thank you, Julia. So, it's quite a title. Tired of working unpaid over hours, become a freelancer. But we thought it would probably grab your attention, so that's kind of why we used it. And also, hello, I didn't say hello yet to anyone who's joining online. And it's being recorded, obviously, so if you feel like this is information overload, feel free to just watch the YouTube video after and you'll have everything there. So no need to take notes or anything like that. So I'll just introduce myself first. My name is Rebecca. I'm a community, I was cautious about using the word developer because I'm by no means a developer, like programming, but builder in the sense, at Malt. And that means I'm responsible for our events for our freelance community, webinars, and creating content for our freelance community. I'm not a freelancer. I don't have any experience in freelancing. I knew really nothing about freelancing about a year ago. However, I've had the opportunity over the last year to be in contact with over 3,000 freelancers during our events, webinars, and whatnot. And I was able to use that time to ask freelancers, what do you need to be able to do your job better? Because that's what I'm here for. I know you are the expert in the job that you chose and the industry that you're working in, but anything else around freelancing, how can we help you? And so your feedback is really important, and that's why I have my email address here. If there's ever a topic where you think, I don't really know any content that exists on this topic, but I think it's super important, I have lots of questions, and it would be a cool idea to host a webinar or event or whatnot on this topic, then please feel free to send me any of your ideas. Or if you have questions about Malt after, you're also more than welcome to email me. And I'm not alone, though. I also have two wonderful colleagues who are here today. We have Fabian and Kerstin, who are working on our project partnering team. That means they are connecting freelancers like you with projects that are on our marketplace. And otherwise, we have a whole team of wonderful people who are here to support our freelance community, whether that be anything customer care related, so invoices and whatnot. If you want tips more specifically on how to enhance your freelance experience, we also have freelance success managers as well. So before we jump right in, I just want to ask, and also those online can feel free to type it in the comments, who here is a freelancer? Raise your hand. Okay, that's good. It's good for me too. Who here has thought about freelancing before, who's not a freelancer? Okay, great, cool. So for those of you who are freelancing, I'd love to hear maybe from two people, and I'll repeat it into the microphone after so everyone online can hear as well. Maybe just in one sentence, what motivated you to start freelancing? What was the point where you said, okay, I'm freelancing now? We have someone raising their hand, yes. Go ahead.
To be able to work anytime and from anywhere.
Thank you. So we have to be able to work anytime and from anywhere.
Customers are much more grateful than employers.
Customers are much more grateful than employees. Anyone else? Third person? No? Yeah, all the way at the back. I'll come over to you.
I can also shout.
Go for it.
Actually, your title, like tired of working extra hours.
Okay. Tired of working unpaid over hours. There we go. Perfect. So you're not alone. And actually, I think a lot of the reasons that you listed are very common. And you'll see that in what I'm presenting here. So last year, Malt, together with Boston Consulting Group, did a study with 3,000 freelancers in Europe and asked them exactly the same question. And these, at least in Germany, were the results. So 91% said they want to have more independence. 85% was, I want to be able to work anytime I want. And then lastly, also from anywhere I want. So choice of location as well. And yeah, I think being your own boss was kind of a big theme in that as well. And some of the other trends that came out of the study, just to give you a little picture of what the freelancing climate is like in Europe. So there are about 45% more freelancers in Europe than in 2004. There are about 6 million highly qualified freelancers in Europe in general, and that number is rising. As you see, there are a lot of people here who are interested but haven't made the step yet. 33% of tech jobs in Europe are done by freelancers. And 96% of freelancers are freelancing by choice, and that doesn't mean that there's 4% that's super unhappy somewhere, but were forced out of a job in some way and had no other choice but to start freelancing, and I very much hope that they're happy now. And this kind of goes hand in hand with the tech jobs in Europe, but big companies are starting to realize the change. And maybe for those of you who are freelancers, I'm wondering if this is reflective of your portfolio of clients as well. But in Germany, what came out of the study is that a typical freelancer portfolio will look like 43% small companies, maybe startups, 37% medium businesses, and 20% big companies or enterprise companies as part of the freelancer portfolio. So I mentioned earlier that I had the chance to speak with not 3,000 but come in contact with a lot of freelancers during the last year. And when I asked how can we help you, what can we support you with, some of the 4 topics that were a main theme came out, and out of that we decided to create a freelance booster kit. So 4 main topics that you can use to enhance your experience as a freelancer, to help you gain more visibility and help you be more successful in general. And so the first one was administration, which is super exciting, I know. It's finance management, insurance, how do I do my bookkeeping, which we know is extra fun in Germany as well. Presentations, so how to build your brand and present yourself, and online especially. Acquisition, so how do I find potential clients and then how do I convince them to work with me? There are a lot of freelancers out there. How do I stand out? And balance, so I chose to be a freelancer maybe because I wanted to work anytime I wanted, but am I making myself too available now to the point where I'm actually almost burning out because I want to be available to my clients all the time? So how do I still keep that balance that I initially wanted? And so I'm going to take you through these 4 blocks. And for those of you who aren't freelancing yet, it's just something to give you food for thought. So don't feel like you need to know everything or you need to go get working on everything. It should be hopefully just a little motivational push to get the ball rolling. So administration. We won't, luckily, for you, spend too much time on this one because I don't want you falling asleep in front of me. But manage your finances, choose the right insurance for your lifestyle, and do your bookkeeping with ease. And I by no means would say that Malt or we are the experts exactly in that. That's why we partner with different people, and we have partners like Social Developers Club, but we also have partners who provide a tool for freelancers and making their lives easier. So we have some of the tools that we can recommend in terms of finance management are Konto and Contest. Then for insurance, we have Insify as an insurance provider, as well as Financial24. And then in terms of tax management, we have Accountable, but also Contest. And if you look on YouTube Contest, they have millions of videos on doing your taxes as a freelancer, anything you need to know. And Melchior Neumann is the most enthusiastic person I've ever seen talk about taxes. So you're welcome if you watch those videos. So we'll jump right over to presentation, and this is the topic where we'll spend a little bit more time because it's probably the most important, I would say, in presenting yourself, defining your offer, establishing your positioning, and building a personal brand. So your value proposition. What is your value proposition? Well, your value proposition is what exactly am I offering my customers or my clients? What is the solution I'm offering them? And what we sometimes see, especially on Malt, is that some freelancers don't make this specific enough. They'll write down very broadly, I'm a videographer, or I do videography for you. Well, you have to go a little bit more specific than that. Videography is very broad. What kind of videography do you like to do? What kind of projects do you like to work on? Is there a specific industry? Do you only want to work in the automobile industry, for example? So that should also just be, you know, another piece of food for thought for you in terms of, if you think you know what your value proposition is, can you go even more specific so that you're really targeting the niche customer base that you want to be working with? And so that's what we have here, is just really define your field of expertise really, really well. Figure out who your target client is. What is their problem or their pain point that I'm trying to solve? And then keep it really simple. So there's one example we have from a partner they used is, you know, if someone is drowning in the ocean and there's a giant luxurious yacht that comes up and says, oh, we'll come help you, but we're like way up here. And there's someone in a little raft that throws them a life ring. Well, I'm going to take whatever is accessible and easiest to me at first. And so that's the solution I'm going to take. So sometimes your value proposition doesn't need to be all shiny and big and massive. You know, it needs to immediately solve a problem that a customer has. So think about that when you're thinking about your value proposition and your offer. And one other thing I want to say is we had one freelancer who was telling me, and I was speaking with him, and he said, oh, I'm just getting lots of projects that I'm not interested in. And I said, well, what do you do? And he said, I'm a videographer, and I'm getting requests for filming events and whatnot. And I said, okay, well, what kind of videography do you want to do? Well, I just have a little studio set up in my basement, and all I want to do is film products on this white screen. Okay, well, then you have to write that specifically, because until then you're going to keep getting offers just for events and things like that if you don't specifically write that. And so he changed it to product videography with a whole description, and now the projects he's getting are much more targeted exactly to him. So like I said, be specific as to what you want to do. Your personal brand. So who here has heard of personal branding before? Almost everyone, okay. And as a freelancer, you pretty much are your own brand. So your personal brand is a combination of your positioning as an expert in your field and how you communicate that to the public. Social platforms, extremely important, but what's more important than social platforms is being on the most relevant ones relatable to you and to the job that you're doing. So here we've just listed a few that might be super relevant for you, but one that we're really going to focus on today is LinkedIn. Who here has a LinkedIn account? Almost everyone. Okay, that's great. And who here has heard of an SSI, or your social selling index score? Raise your hand. One person. Yes. Okay. So if you're logged onto LinkedIn on your phone, I would love for you to scan this QR code. And then when you scan it, there'll be a little button that says Get Your Score. And you'll click on Get Your Score. I'm going to give you just a moment to do that. And I'm actually going to take a picture of you scanning the QR code, if you don't mind. Is there anyone who doesn't want to be on the photo? Okay, then I will make sure to avoid you. If you could all just lift your phones up like you're scanning the screen, that would be great. Perfect. So does anyone have their score? It's in a circle. It's a number out of 100. And does anyone want to share it with us?
I've got 22 out of 100.
We have 22. So it's a number within a circle.
It's right underneath.
Or just under the circle.
42.
42.
16.
16. 34. 34. Okay. Does anyone want to guess what an ideal range is? Higher. Okay, so an ideal range is actually between 60 and 80. 60 and 80. And don't feel too bad if you don't have that number, because I had less than 20 when I first scanned this for the first time last year in June, and now I'm over 60. And don't fear not, because I'll show you how you can improve that. But first, why even bother improving it? Well, we know that LinkedIn users with a higher SSI score are 45% have 45% more opportunities created than their peers with a lower SSI score. They're 51% more likely to reach their goals or their quota. And they're 78% more likely to outsell peers who don't use social media at all. So if you don't have a LinkedIn account yet, now might be the time to think about it. And if you're not satisfied with your score, don't worry. There are very concrete ways that you can improve it. And they're divided by categories. So you'll see different colors under there that relate to different categories. There's kind of a rusty orange color or red building your profile, and that has everything to do with how well have you filled out your profile on LinkedIn. So I know sometimes it's easy to be like, the bio, I don't really want to fill that out right now, I'm too lazy or whatnot, but go ahead, invest some time and actually do it, because that alone will already boost your score. Use relevant keywords that would be relevant to a customer, for example, who you want to reach out to or show up in their newsfeed. And skills, so make sure you list your skills. And an ideal number would be probably around 7 to 12 skills to have on LinkedIn. You don't want to do too many, because then you've got yourself too much in a niche, which on LinkedIn isn't a good thing necessarily. And not too little, and you can have your contacts on LinkedIn endorse your skills as well. Purple is all about being engaged. So how much do you actually engage with the app itself? How often do you log in? How often are you engaging with other profiles? And how often are you searching for new contacts as well? And these contacts should be relevant to your field. So don't just go like blasting and like adding everyone you know on LinkedIn or everyone who comes up suggested. It should actually be relevant to your field as well. Green is being social, so engaging with the content of your connection. So if there's a post that comes up in your newsfeed, are you commenting on it? Are you engaging? Are you answering your emails? Like myself, I'm like really terrible at it before, but I'm trying my best to be better at it, but that also counts. If someone messages you and you take forever to respond to them, that can affect your SSI score as well. And then we have blue, which is networking. So building new contacts, and then within your group of contacts, who do you have in there who's, in quotations, important in your category of work? So are there a few people in there who are key opinion leaders in that area? That's probably important and will also boost your score. So I'm curious, and I would love to hear from some of you maybe at some point down the road to see if it helped, because at the last event I had some freelancers telling me that their score has increased by like 25 points. And I really can swear by it, because the second you know what to do, you know when to post at the right time. So if you can, posting once a week is probably an ideal frequency, and then posting at correct times. So think about times when people would have time to look at their phone or be on their way to work or on their way home. So 8 to 10 in the morning, 12 to 2 at lunchtime, and then 6 to 8 p.m. in the evening are the best times to post as well. And you'll notice a difference in between how people are engaging with your content as well. So besides LinkedIn, your references can also help you. So if I'm a customer and I don't know you, I have no idea about your repertoire or how you work, then I'll probably see if you have any ratings or any reviews or things like that to see, if you're credible, if you're working well, or whatnot. So that's why it's important, and you can do that on LinkedIn as well. You can also do it on Malt, where you reach out to not just previous clients, but people you've worked with. So some people who say, I want to become a freelancer, but I have zero experience in freelancing. Well, I'm sure you have experience in something that's relevant to it. So reach out to those people who you know will be able to give you a good recommendation as well. And on Malt, you can see you get a thumbs up for every recommendation you have on your profile. And if I'm a customer and I'm just visually looking at these two profiles, of course I'll be more drawn to a profile that has 2 thumbs up versus one that doesn't. So that's just something to think of on the very first impression when a customer is searching for profiles. And the same thing on LinkedIn. And make sure the recommendations are solid and actually describe what you did. You know, saying, Matt was great, is very cute and it's lovely and I'm sure he's a great friend, but it doesn't help me as a customer. You know, I want to know exactly, did you work on a project? What kind of project? Did it go well? How were the timelines? Did he respond quickly? That's the kind of information I want to know as a client. So balance. And just out of curiosity, how many of you in this room are really satisfied with your work-life balance right now? Okay, that's more than I thought, actually. So good job. But I think there's always room for improvement, and for those of you who aren't satisfied, I'll just give you a few tips. So these have also come from our community as well, but the first is know your numbers. So know what your daily rate is, and if you're not sure, on Malta we also have in German it's called a Tarifbarometer, so you can see what the average daily rates are in different job categories as well. So if you're just curious and you're not a freelancer yet and you don't know, then feel free to look for that as well. And then think about how much time you want to invest as well. Freelancing does not mean only project time. So there's administrative time, there's time for answering emails, there's time for actually then working on the project, there's time for writing your invoices, all of that. So think about that when you're writing quotes, when you're creating quotes and whatnot as well. Plan projects realistically. So like I just said, plan in your project meeting first of all, and time for editing as well. And then practice saying no. So make it clear to your customers when you're available and when you're not. Maybe you want to work on the weekend, that's totally fine, but therefore you don't want to be available on Monday and Tuesday. Well, communicate that. Which I know I've heard from a lot of freelancers, they're like, well, I'm just available 7 days a week now and I don't have any days off because I've done that to myself. Well, it's up to you to clarify that and make that clear. And you can use tools like Calendly, for example, to let your clients only book appointments when you're available. So use all of those tools to your advantage as well. And manage your energy. So don't pack yourself in with meetings back to back. If there's a day where you know you just can't today, then that's okay. But don't overdo it, and remember why you chose freelancing in the first place, and likely that was one of the reasons, is being able to choose when you can say, you know, today it's just not the day for it, or maybe I need half the day or whatever, then use that flexibility that you've chosen to have. And lastly, we have acquisition, so finding potential clients and converting your leads into clients. So I won't spend too much time here, but we have using your network. So also on LinkedIn, you never know who knows someone who knows someone who knows someone. I think we've all had posts come up on our LinkedIn feed and we're not connected to those people at all on LinkedIn, but it somehow popped in there. So really reach out to your community. It takes a little bit of courage, but be brave and do that and ask if someone knows someone who needs you. Become a speaker. So if you're interested in, either reaching out to Julia or you want to come speak on a topic related to freelancing, then feel free to send me an email. We can definitely talk about that. I've had many freelancers, by the way, land jobs just from being at an event as well. And go networking. So you're all doing the right thing already tonight, meeting with other freelancers. I don't know how many times maybe you've been totally at your capacity with jobs, and then maybe that freelancer speaks with you and you're available and you're able to get a job off that other freelancer just by talking. So network tonight. And then of course I just have to do a tiny little pitch for Malt. But also here to help you with acquiring clients are freelancer marketplaces like Malt. So the story of Malt. In June, or in a few weeks in June, Malt will be celebrating its 10th anniversary. So Malt started 10 years ago in Paris in France and was founded by two tech freelancers themselves who wanted to give freelancers more choice in who they're working with, when, and for how much money. And they wanted to build a freelance community. That was really important to them to have that at the core of it, and that's why my job exists. And today, we have 550,000 freelancers Europe-wide and 600 employees across Europe and over 60,000 clients that are bringing their projects to Malt. So how does Malt even work as a freelancer? It's free to create your profile and it's free to work as a freelancer who's registered in Germany on Malt. So there's no provision that's taken off the project, the client pays that. And there's two ways you get projects. One is a client will do a direct search. They know exactly who they're looking for. They type in a keyword and they can search profiles. They can message up to, I think, 6 freelancers at once and send them a message saying, this is my project, this is what I need, and you can get in contact with them. The other way is they don't know exactly what they're looking for yet and they can create a project brief. We have an algorithm called Malt Plus that will match profiles with keywords in the briefing. So that's why it's so important to fill your profile out to the best of your ability so that you have those keywords in there that might match with a project briefing. And those relevant projects will then land in your inbox as well, and then you can directly come in contact with the client. So it's kind of like a one-stop shop because you can create quotes, manage projects, and automate invoices all in the same tool. We have an app as well, which is really easy if you want to be available to your clients in the times that you want to be available, by the way. And you have access to new projects. So like I said, if you fill your profile out correctly and leverage the number of skills you can fill out there and whatnot, you might have access to totally new clients and whatnot. We have quite a wide portfolio of clients. Fast and secure payment. So who is usually waiting a really long time for their invoices to get paid? Like more than 30 days? Over 30 days? No. More than 3 days? So on Malt, all of the projects are pre-financed. That means that the client pays Malt in whatever time frame, but Malt pays the freelancer on an average of 72 hours, so you get paid quite quickly. And it's freelancer first, so we have a large community. We do lots of events like this. We have them in Berlin and Munich as well. We have webinars every week, and we have a blog where we create lots of content. And then just for some of you here, I just pulled a few numbers just to give you an idea of what an average daily rate looks like for some of these job categories here, for freelancers who are on Malt. Just to give you an idea. So I'll leave that up there. Here are some of the clients. Of course, there's many, many more, but just to give you an idea of who we're working with. This is what your profile would look like. Like I said, I won't spend too much time on here. Probably the most important points you already got from the presentation before, which was fill it out as best as you can. Use the About Me section to show your personality if you want to, and to put your value proposition in there. And then what's also super important is skills. So you can put up to 50 skills. And I would really recommend you completely use that up if you can. And you can use those like a keyword search as well. So think of any kind of keywords in projects that might be relevant for you to put in there. And we have a partner program. So I manage our partnership program, and we have lots of different partners who offer great offers for our freelance community. And once you're logged in as a freelancer on Malt, you'll have access to the page where you can redeem all of these special offers. And lastly, we just have this newly launched business referral program. So I said before, sometimes you're at max capacity, but you have a client come and say, hey, I have another project, can you work on it? Usually at that point, there's no way for you to make money off of that, but we have a solution for that now. So if you're a freelancer on Malt and you're able to recommend a project to another freelancer on Malt, and that project gets done on Malt, then you will receive 5% of the total project volume. And depending on how big that project is, that can be like a lot of really easy money. So we have quite a large community, and we want to be able to spread out the projects and make sure everybody gets a chance to get their hands on one. So we have a landing page that explains all the information. If you're interested in this, then on the landing page you'll see an email address that you can email, but you can also email me and just let me know about it. And that's that. If you scan the QR code, you'll be taken right to the Malt website where you can fill out a freelance profile, but you can also do that at a later point as well. Thank you so much, and I'll hand it over to our next speaker.
Actually, we would have 2 minutes for questions if you have some right now. But yes, do we have a second microphone?
I don't have one. I'm interested in the contract. So if a company like Disney or Siemens works with Malt, is the contract with Malt or with the freelancer?
The contract is with Malt then. So we have a sales team that works with clients. We have account managers and whatnot, and they manage all of that with the client. Yes, and I'm also here the whole evening if you have questions after, and the rest of my team as well.
Thank you very much for the talk. I would like to maybe get some hints from you regarding the transition from a traditional employeeship to being a freelancer.
Sure. Well, like I said, I'm not a freelancer myself, so I can't speak from experience. I can just speak from what I've heard from other freelancers, and I think I don't have an easy answer to that because I think it's really a case by case. I have some freelancers who said they just, dove right in and went 100%, and actually that would be interesting to hear. Who just went from the get-go 100% freelancing? We have a few of you. And do you regret it, or was it a good decision? No. And then there are some people, I think, who started with just a few hours a week on the side. How many of you did that in the beginning? Also a few of you. And was that the right thing for you at the time? So I think it's a little bit tricky because it depends on what I think fits with your lifestyle and the risk you want to jump in at. But both are totally okay ways to go. It really just depends on what you think. I think getting more comfortable and being at networking events, expanding your community and people you can lean on. Speak with, there's a lot of people with a lot of experience here today in freelancing, so definitely ask them and get their ideas as well. But there's no right or wrong answer to that.
I don't have a question, but I wanted to say that in Germany you have something like called Gründerzuschuss from the Arbeitsamt, and this actually helped me a lot to make the step. So if this is your way, like if you want to become a freelancer 100%, I think this is the way to go because it takes away the scary part of not having financial stability. So that's my tip.
Awesome, thank you. So there you go, you have one person you can already talk to right after this.
Okay, one last question.
So I have a question about the fun part. So how? Could you please explain a little about how the taxes and health insurance will be, if at all, be covered by a mark?
Just to clarify, you mean whether like your bookkeeping and making sure everything is accurate is covered by Malt?
And another thing is, so Malt is registered in, I don't know which country it is, but maybe it's not in Germany. So how are freelancers going to pay the taxes? Are they going to do here?
Yeah.
I don't think so, because I have almost zero idea about the taxes, especially here in Germany. So.
Yeah. good question. Yeah, so on Malt, I think, and there's also a contest video on that. There's a contest video on using freelancer platforms and within taxes. And Malt, I think, was one of the few where it's actually accurate in terms of the breakdown when you're using it as a tool. I'm not a tax expert by any means, so I don't want to pretend I know the right answers to that. But like I said, you can also ask me your concrete question after, and I can ask our customer support team. And also, like I said, look at Kontist, Kontist. They have millions of videos. I promise you, any question you have about that, they have a video on it.
All right, thank you so much. That was so great insights. We will take a short break now. Becca will be here for the whole evening, so if you want to ask her more questions, please feel free. And then we keep going with the second talk about Notion and how to build your system while freelancing. So I would say I see you back here in 10 minutes. Grab a drink, and we also have some snacks left, and then we'll be back here in 10 minutes. Thank you. So thank you for being here today, and the stage is yours.
All right. So thank you and welcome. The title, probably the blue is hard to read. I should have made a contrast check first, but I read it out. Building blocks of an integrated productivity system for freelancers. I already saw that not everyone here is a freelancer, but the good news is it will also work for any knowledge worker, I think, or most of them, I guess. So this shouldn't be an issue. And first of all, I'd like to talk about some challenges freelancers face. And I'm a freelancer by myself, so I can definitely say being a freelancer is really great. So you are free to decide when, where, how, with whom, and what to work on. So it's definitely beautiful. I really enjoy that, but there are drawbacks, challenges that you might face when being a freelancer. And that's you are free to decide when, where, how, with whom, and what to work on. So what I mean by that, freelancing brings lots of flexibility and autonomy. So, but with that also comes you need a strong sense of responsibility, actually. And you're your own boss and your best employee at the same time. That's definitely a challenge. So in a world that's rapidly changing, you not only need to plan for the next days and weeks, but also have a plan for the next years to come. So alongside acquiring new skills and questioning old ones is a constant task. And at the same time, we're exposed to a constant stream of information. So, and I would say filtering and organizing that noise is definitely a really important task for any freelancer. So, and today we have many apps out there promising to make our life easier. So you might know some of them or even use multiple ones. The thing is, all these apps have been designed mostly for one purpose only. So we use Google Docs or Word for writing, we use Asana or Jira for our project management, and probably that app that came pre-installed on our phones for private tasks because it was there all the time. So, and the thing is, your tasks and your docs are virtually everywhere. So they could be spread across different cloud services. They could be lost on your hard drive. And most of the time, probably your knowledge is not connected. And worst of all, it is also not connected to your projects and daily actions. So what you get when using all these apps alongside different cloud services and your local hard drive for storing information are isolated islands that are not connected, that lack bridges in between. So, and today I'd like to talk about an app called Notion, but what I show you would also work with other kinds of apps and even with a book I show you later on. So, let's meet actually Notion. an app that enables you to integrate most of your workflows in one unified workspace. And first of all, I'm really curious, who has heard of Notion? Quite a lot. All right. Who's using Notion? Okay. Who loves Notion? Okay. Quite a few only, actually. I hope I can change this a bit, actually. I also talk about some objections when seeing Notion first. So let's talk about some essential concepts of Notion. And first of all, it cannot only be used by individuals, but also by teams and organizations. It's great for collaboration, actually. And if you're a freelancer, you can do it for many different areas, like knowledge management, project management. You could use it for journaling, collecting meeting notes. You could use it for content production. It's really great if you have a podcast or a blog and want to produce content. That's great. You can use it for journaling or habit tracking, or also for collaborating, because you can share the content publicly or by invitation. Notion could be considered a no-code tool. So Notion basically allows you to build complex database architectures and even entire websites that you can publish to the web without knowing to code. And what I like most about Notion, but I think that's also a reason why it's hard to get started with Notion, it's an agnostic tool. So it's an unbiased space with tools that do what you want them to do, but they don't prescribe you a way of working. So actually, it's really important to find your issues and goals and where you want to go, to define that first before building a system in Notion. Finally, the basic plan is free, so you can check it out today if you like. There are paid upgrades. Interestingly, one ChatGPT integration that can code for you right in Notion, but also create templates and add structure to your documents. So this is the user interface, and you can see there are two, or probably it's not visible right now, but there are two important concepts. You have pages and you have blocks on pages. Actually, it seems to be a whole new category of apps, block-based apps where you can create rich content on pages. I'll show you examples soon. Let's start with pages. So in its most basic form, pages can be organized in a folder structure, the same way you know it from your hard drive maybe. So and pages are basically docs that can be customized. As you can see here, there you can see me tweaking a page design, adding a custom cover, for example, probably some fancy emojis. I can share it by invitation or publicly to the web. There's a comments history because it's made for collaboration. You have analytics, which is great when you work in teams. And you can customize typeface, font size. You can make it full width if you prefer. And you can export everything to Markdown, PDF, HTML, and CSV. Of course, yeah, you also get a dark mode. So that's really simple. So basically, it's like if you see that properly, a more advanced version of a word processor. You have a time machine-like version history. And I don't know if you have ever experienced that. I experience that quite often, too many tabs. But Notion has a solution, the web clipper, so that allows you to save the content of a website with one click to a Notion page. So you can schedule it for another time. So now blocks are definitely more interesting than pages. And I just show you the video. Here I create blocks. I use Markdown, and that's really great if you're using two code editors. I use Markdown all the time, and the powerful / command to create more advanced blocks like a call out, for example. I can create multi-column layouts just by drag and drop. I can add tables and interact with them. I can create code snippets. It supports many different programming languages. And if you use Notion AI, you can let it generate code right inside the code snippet. Here's an accordion elements, really basic element we experience on websites. I can duplicate using Command D, also something I know from my code editor. Sure, I can add comments, and also resolve any issues right in the document. And I heavily use comments and address myself when I have some ideas in documents. So there are many third-party integrations. So when you're missing a functionality, you can embed Figma, GitHub, Jira, many other apps. This is just a selection, so there are many more. This is how Figma looks like. This is the design system of Headspace. They embedded Figma pages to better illustrate their design system. This is the GitHub integration, which almost looks like native Notion to me. So yeah, there's more. You can comment blogs, you can add anchor links, mention other people, and add reminders with date and time. And there are sync blocks, so if you don't want to have similar content and want your content blocks keep in sync, you can actually define a block as sync block, and no matter how many versions of that block you have on different pages, it automatically syncs the other block. That's a really convenient feature, and you have buttons which allows you to create kind of mini templates on a page. Also, if you repeat something all the time, it's really convenient to have these features at hand. But the thing is, so that's probably a really good way to get started with Notion. Use pages and blogs, get familiar with the keyboard shortcuts. Actually, everything in Notion is controllable with the keyboard. So you're really fast when using the / command or markdown. That's really nice and a good starting point. And I was using Notion in this way for a long time, and earlier this year I canceled my Dropbox Pro subscription, and Dropbox was asking why I was leaving, and I realized I don't use files anymore. So my whole content almost lived inside Notion at that point, and it's definitely a better way to interact with your documents if you work that way. But there are drawbacks in the long run, so there's no structured way of organizing and revealing your data. So your knowledge, once again, can become isolated. It's not connected to your projects, and there's just no categorization and different interaction with your knowledge. So also finding things, Notion has a really powerful search, real-time search, but finding things can get harder if you only work with pages in Notion. So there's definitely a more sustainable way. And I'll show you this way very soon. But before that, I will talk about productivity systems, because that's the title of the talk, and Notion is just a tool to make you more productive. So yeah, once again, the blue, but it says productivity systems. And first of all, what is a productivity system? And that's not really easy to answer, actually. So, and we don't have the time to dive deeply into that topic. But I would say you might be familiar with some of these techniques. I would rather call that practices or techniques. I wouldn't consider these system. These ones are more of the type system, I would say. The most popular one, I don't know, who's heard of Getting Things Done? Okay, quite a lot again. I think that's one of the most popular ones. Who's heard of Para? Okay, yeah, that's a system by Tiago Forte that also works well with Notion, especially for organize your knowledge and your projects. PPV actually is not that popular, but it's definitely worth checking out. The main concepts I show you are based on the PPV system by August Bradley. Then we have OKRs and SMART goals, and that's more a thing in the management world. And in the beginning I said you have to be your own boss and best employee at the same time. So it's really good to know management strategies if you're a freelancer, I think. And basically these are about setting goals and tracking the goals on the way. And that's something you can definitely do with Notion. You can break down your goals into milestones and track them on the way. So, yeah, too fast. I wanted to say productivity systems are not loved by everyone. So there's a lot of critics out there, also a lot of praise. But I think if we add another dimension to the concept of productivity, we could probably calm down the critics. And I'm talking about this difference, so the difference between efficiency and effectiveness. And actually, most productivity systems focus on doing the thing right. So it is about doing more with less. So probably more output with less time, more output with less resources. And it's about the how you do things, how you could get faster. Effectiveness, on the other hand, is about doing the right thing, doing meaningful steps. It's not about fast steps at all. And it's rather about the what you do and why you do it at all. So, and I would say effectiveness is, in the long run, far more important than efficiency. So doing the right steps, one at a time, that bring you closer to your goals. So I would say an effective productivity system advances you in the right direction. And yeah, when you're on track, small steps are valuable. So I tried to come up with a definition, so how I would define productivity for this talk. And I came up with that. Productivity system helps you focus on the right task at the right time and aligns your daily action with your long-term vision. So that's probably my definition, or my understanding at least. So it's really important that there's an alignment between daily actions and that you actually have some kind of long-term vision. And we now real quick have a look at some essential element of a productivity system you can build with Notion. So most of what I show you is based on the implementation of August Bradley's system. I highly recommend his YouTube series, but it's also based on books by David Allen, Tiago Forte, James Clear, John Durr. So I can definitely send you some resources if you are interested in reading more about these topics. So first of all, guiding principles. This means what drives you, what values are essential for you. This is kind of your North Star. So it helps you make decisions in your daily work. And an example, and we already heard this in the other talk, for freelancers. So this is probably an example for a freelancer. Autonomy and flexibility could be really important values if you choose to be a freelancer. Then value goals, those could be your long-term aspirations, things that you value and things that are actually not measurable. I'll give you an example to make it more concrete. Be a successful freelancer could be a goal you have. And that's probably, if you are happy with freelancing, could be a goal until you retire. So probably for the next 30 to 40 years. So that could be a value goal. Then we have goal outcomes. And goal outcomes are measurable. So they are specific. Most of the time they are time bound. And it's also what, for example, a key result would be in the OKR methodology. Oh yeah, I already had the example. I was too fast. Yeah, acquire 3 new clients by the end of this quarter. Could be a goal outcome, and that's measurable, and you can measure it in Notion. I'll show you how later on. Then you have projects. Could be launch a new portfolio website. And then, that's probably not obvious. The thing is, you cannot reach all goals with projects alone. So let's say you want to be a successful freelancer. It could be essential to live a healthy life, and that's not possible by a project. That, in my opinion, needs to be a constant habit. The same could be true if you want to be recognized as an expert in your field. Probably a reading habit or writing habit could be essential to be recognized. Then we have tasks, so small actionable items. They are in service of projects. Example could be write a draft for the About Me chapter of that portfolio website I just talked about. So And the thing that also August Bradley points out, it's important to align all these elements. So important that when you're doing a task, you know what's its meaning in the system. So what project are you fulfilling right now? And what project, if you work on a project, what goal outcome is this project responsible for? So there's an alignment between low-level and short-term tasks and your high-level, long-term values and guiding principles. So there's more in the system, so that's really actually a big part. So you have knowledge, and that's probably one of the main benefits of working with Notion. You have your knowledge right next to your project. So if there's any benefit of using Notion, I would say the most obvious one for me was I have my knowledge and my projects in one tool, and I can connect it freely. Also, reviews, in my opinion, are really important. So at least weekly, monthly, and yearly planning sessions and reviews to keep you on track and to refine such a system. And this is more a byproduct. Focus means, you need time for your most important tasks, for concentrated work. And this should be like an outcome of your system, in my opinion. So that's a little bit abstract, I know, and I cannot show how every part works in Notion, but I thought we can have a look at least some elements. And first of all, I want to say the more sustainable way of working with content in Notion is not using a folder structure, not using the way you organize your data on your hard drive. So this is not a sustainable way. A more sustainable way is using databases. And that's actually what the rest of this talk is about. And Notion has many great database features. The most important one is that every database entry is a page itself. So if you create a database entry and open that, I think, the screen comes later, but all the blocks you have in Notion are available in that page that's behind the database entry. So there's a video. That's what I meant. So right behind every database entry is a page, and you can nest that almost infinitely, I think. So that's the go-to way to organize your content and also to connect different pieces of your system. You build databases, you connect them, add relations, and just, I thought it's still a little bit abstract maybe. Let's build two different databases, one for tasks and one for projects. So first of all, we define the architecture. We choose, as you can see here, we have many different properties like select, multi-select, dates, URL, checkbox. We can craft our custom database. That's a really simple example. I added a priority select property, a due date, a status field for our task, and the task name. Now I added some tasks just for demonstration. And once again, behind every task in this database is a page, and that page can feature subpages. So here I created a database for projects, and I added the property for status, so to differentiate between active and future projects. I also added priority, and I added timeline dates, and timeline dates allow us to output timelines, which I will show you later. And once again, behind every project database entry is a whole page which you could use as dashboard for that project. And you could also create repeatable patterns for these kinds of dashboards for similar kinds of projects. So, and now to make the system work, we need to add relations. So we need to connect different databases to each other. So what we do now, we add a relation between those two databases, tasks and projects. And as you can see now, we're in the task database, and we see to what project a task is assigned to. And the other way around, in our project database, we see all our tasks that belong to the project. So that doesn't look nice yet, but actually you wouldn't work with the master table. You would just create the architecture here of the master table for a dedicated purpose. So for a project, for tasks, but even for days. If you want to do daily tracking, you would build a database for days. If you want to do a weekly review, you would build a database for weeks. And you build the main architecture, but you work with views and not with a main database. So, and that's, for me, actually the funniest part when working with Notion, create custom views for specific purposes. So, views in Notion feature a layout, a set of properties, filters, sorts, and also allows for grouping content. And most powerful are probably the views or the layouts. We have table, a Kanban board view, a timeline view, a really simple list view, a calendar view, and a gallery view. And that way we can build our custom dashboards. I'll just give you an example. I built a project dashboard now. This is me in real time building the dashboard based on the data I just showed you. So I create an empty view, give it a name. Now I pick gallery view. I assign a page cover. Now I define what properties I want to see in that specific use case. And I can rearrange it so it fits my needs. So now I only want to see active projects. I don't want to see the noise, everything that's done or that's in the far future. So I filter for active projects and sort by priority. Yeah. So that's the active projects. Then, as you can see, I get tabs here. So I can create as many views as I like and access them over the tabs. I can also use data from different databases and aggregate in one view. That's also possible. And now we just see upcoming projects and not the active ones. So that's how I built a really simple dashboard for projects. Here you can see the timeline view, and we can also see you can combine different views on one page. So you have access to the same data in different ways. And you can interact. It's much nicer to define the timeline, but as you can see, the times above change. Also, you can add dependencies, so I can create dependencies between different projects. This is also possible with tasks. So really nice that you can combine these views and create dashboards. And also you could, for sure, add this to an accordion and collapse or expand content if needed. When I was talking about focus, these are our tasks again. I can filter only for first priority. That's only my most important tasks for today. I can only filter by time of day, probably what's important this morning. And I could, if I need that, I could also filter by location, and I just see what matters right now when I'm in the office. So no distractions by tasks I don't need to do right now. That's an example for a task dashboard. We have calendar support. That is, at a basic level, I would say it's definitely nice to plan your week and months, but there will be Google Calendar support soon. Many people are waiting for that, and also Notion acquired Cron, which is a really promising calendar app. I think this will be tightly integrated in the future. And we have a Kanban board. So actually, most of my projects feature a Kanban board, so I can display my data by schedules using cards. So, and if I need more structure, so probably I don't want to structure my knowledge in different ways every time I create an entry. I can create database templates, another short video. So for example, here I created a task template that automatically includes the definition of done maybe prompts me to fill this out, or probably a few lines why this task is important. Here we create a new project, and as you can see here, I already defined 2 templates. Now I have the Kanban template, and I immediately get a backlog, and the Kanban board below. I can create tasks using shortcuts, for example, and then edit the task names and assign the status here. Once again, everything on one page. So I'm not sure if this was understandable. It takes time to set this up. The good news is you don't need to set this up all the time. So there are many templates out there. And Notion just released last week actually a template that does all this. It sets up tasks and projects for you with most of the functionality and other features that I just showed you. So this could also be interesting. Check out templates. There are many free ones, some paid ones. Okay, but the main pattern for organizing your docs in Notion would be you build different databases for specific purposes and create an architecture for that database, selecting the right properties. You connect the databases using relations. You create pages and embed views, custom views of those databases that allow access to different areas of your data. And you add content, and yeah, everything grows and can interact with each other. And I was talking about all these other elements, and there's not enough time to show you how to build this. But basically what you do, you build databases for goals and connect it to your projects and habits. You build databases for your review and planning sessions, which means you have a database for your days to do some tracking if you like. You have databases for weeks, months, quarters, and years. You create templates, so you have repeatable planning sessions and review sessions with the same structure. I think for Freelancer, really important is you can do customer relationship management. So you can build a client database and connect it to your projects. Knowledge thus would be built by using different databases for different purposes. For example, you could have a database for your books, for courses you took. You can have a master tech database where everything is aggregated. That's a whole talk on its own. Tiago Forte's book, Building Second Brain, is really nice for that topic. So yeah, that's a quick overview. I also tried to make a chart on that. It's not 100% accurate, but you have different stacks of databases. One stack for knowledge, another one for action and process, and one for your review cycles. And these databases are connected and can speak to each other. So that would be the way. I know it could sound a little bit complicated, and I also talk about the objections people have quite soon. I just show you quick examples. Habit tracking. This could be your book database, for example. This could be aggregated knowledge on front-end topics, for example. And that's one thing. Here we create a new project, and we can assign our knowledge tags to the project. So everything we need to know for a project rolls in this page automatically. Okay, so some final thoughts. Yeah, common objections. So I talk to people about creating a system, and most of the time I hear 2 different objections. The first one is, a system like that is far too complex. It takes time to implement and maintain a system like that. And I can say it definitely takes time, because you need to take time to find out what you really want, what your issues are. It takes time, but I think in the long run, it can save you time. And actually, as you have more content in Notion and adjust the system for your needs, it can actually save you time, I think. And the second objective is, I hear this by freelancers, I would feel limited by a system with strict rules and processes. I instead want to be free and stay flexible. And yeah, that's a valid point. But I think you have these review and planning sessions, so you can definitely set the rules. You're the one who defines the rules, and you can refine them. And if you like to do some spontaneous activities, you could also add a time block in your calendar, block time for some spontaneous activities. All right, so I skipped that, Notion downsides, but there's only one thing I wanted to say. Your data is on US servers. That's a thing, and that might be an issue, but there is a solution. There are some Notion clones, but also real alternatives to Notion out there. So it sounds like, yeah, much praise here for Notion, but there are alternatives. Some just copied Notion, but there's a really interesting alternative called Obsidian. And the main benefit, not only it looks really nice, clean user interface, but also you can host your own data. It can live on your hard drive or on your own server. So if you want to own your data, this might be a really good option. And actually, when researching, turned out there are many clones out there copying Notion. One is Coda, another one is Clover, which also adds whiteboard functionality. And interestingly, Microsoft has copied Notion, at least they try to. It's not finished, it doesn't work well, but it will hit the offices probably soon, and people get familiar with the same block-based approach to manage your docs. And I was talking about a book. I can definitely recommend that one. So if you want to do regular review sessions, you want to keep track of your habits, you want to reflect and refine your daily tasks, the book Ein guter Plan, which is a calendar with some really nice ideas on how to be more mindful, I would say. It definitely works without an app at all. I mean, you cannot manage your knowledge in that book, but it helps you to tweak your everyday life. The future of Notion, just really quick, monthly updates, AI everywhere. So Notion AI is a big thing. So it's implemented on Pages, and they just announced last week it's going to be implemented in databases as well. Project workflows, there are new templates for Scrum, where you can have completely set up template for Scrum workflows. And as I told you, Google Calendar might be integrated, and Cron, which was acquired by Notion as well. Okay, so my conclusion would be the tool is not the key. The system is. Shape your vision and set your compass first. Build bridges between knowledge and actions. Track, review, and refine all the time. And block time for what matters most. So that would be probably some more emotional words at the end. And if you're interested in some resources on Notion, I'm happy to send you some links and resources to dive deeper into the topic. Write me a mail or add me on LinkedIn. Also host a meetup on front-end UI, UX design, and probably in the future project management and knowledge management topics. And I also thought about doing some workshops about Notion. So if that's interesting to you, feel free to write me a mail. And also if it sounds too complicated and you have questions, I will be here. So I'm really interested in if that sounds complicated, complex, and not something you'd like to consider, or if that's probably an option to think in that direction. So I'm really happy to hear what you think about that. And that's it.
Thank you so much for your insights. So you're planning to build a workshop on that, but what if people that have never worked with Notion before, that might have been a little overwhelming, but they want to start. So where could they start learning more about it?
Yeah, that's a good point. I recommended Notion many times, and people, just were overwhelmed in the beginning because it's a blank workspace. So people don't know where to start actually. And I would say a good thing could be to just install some templates for different purposes. So most templates are free. Notion have some really good templates. That's a good starting point. Work with pages and blocks, get familiar with the shortcuts, with Markdown, enjoy that your workflow gets smoother and quicker, but don't think about databases, systems, and all this stuff. That comes later. You can work with organizing your content in pages and folders in the beginning, and that's totally fine. And if you want to get to know the other topics, install some templates and see what they can do for you.
Perfect. Do we have more questions from the audience? Yes.
I've got two questions, and I'm sorry, I missed the beginning of your presentation, so maybe you answered them already. The first one is, as far as I remember Notion, there was a time when you could have Notion on-premise to download on your laptop or on your personal server. Is that available anymore? Do you know about that?
Yeah, you have native apps, web apps, and mobile apps. The only thing, it doesn't work well when you're offline.
Okay.
There are tricks and hacks, but offline usage is limited. You can't trust, if you don't have a connection and you're in the train and need to work, that's really complicated.
The question was if it works on premise, and it doesn't. You just have apps to work with the content that is in the cloud.
Yeah, the content lives in the cloud. Yeah, and you have the Notion apps. Yeah,
okay,
sorry.
So okay, that's good.
Yeah.
And the second question is, as I'm having, so to speak, old content on pages, and I want to switch to databases, is there a way to migrate my content into databases?
Yeah, you can move any content from everywhere, every blog, every page, to a page where a database view lives, and then just drag it into the database, and it automatically becomes a database entry, and you can do this with hundreds of blogs at a time. So, yeah, that's possible.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we already talked about that Notion is not possible to self-host. How do you deal with that in practice? Because when you have a knowledge system, you want to have all your data in it, usually. And for example, I have projects which fall under an NDA, so I'm legally not allowed to put that stuff in there. So you have to split that up there, right? Yeah,
I think you should check out Obsidian then.
I use Logseek for that.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Okay, yeah, I haven't heard, but might be a good option as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Another hand. Okay. Also, of course, Niels is going to be here a little longer, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Until the end.
Perfect. That's just my second point. Feel free to stay a little longer. Like Becca said, use the time to network a little. I think we can stay here until 9:30, right? Perfect. So we have some snacks and other drinks. And feel free to join. And also big thank you to Malt for making this meetup possible today. And I hope to see you all, or some of you at least, again in 2 weeks for our next meetup. Thank you.